if the founder is allowed to go up and set up a competing business with the company, then the investor can be in, the acquirer can be in a real trouble, because they will not, even if they own 10% of this company, they can be owning 50% of another company which is far more profitable and which can be carrying on competing business of this company. They would not really be worried about it. So therefore what the investor will do is that they will stop them from carrying on any business which is competing with this entity or this company in which they have put investment. And Vishal, to bring your point, this is where there can be a question of having agreements in restraint of trade. But when you are selling the shares to this extent, you are diluting your equity to this extent, and you are selling your goodwill to an extent. You are selling your goodwill, because when you are giving equity shares, then you are also parting with the goodwill of the business of the company. So when you are giving those kinds of right to an investor, then you cannot kind of be allowed to compete the business and use all of that intellectual property or goodwill to carry out another business, because then the sale of these shares, this high sale of shares, will not have any effect. It will not remain effective at all, because it will just lose the total relevance for the investor. Okay, so that's why there are judgments which will there are judgments which will prohibit from founders where they've sold businesses, where they've sold such an extent of the business, they will not be allowed to go up and set up competing businesses. Then the question is, means the same company cannot open its another chain separately? Same company can open another chain, but the founders of company A cannot open a new company B, which is directly in competition with company A. There is a company A which has different branches or everything, so that A is opening a new branch, that is allowed, that's permitted. But what happens is that I have shares in company A. Now what I do is I go and open a new company B. Okay, and company B is carrying on the exact same business as company A. Okay, and in company B I have a lot of shares. So what I will do is that I will focus only on developing the business of company B, and I will not be bothered about company A, where the investor has put his money and I have only very small number of shares. Is that clear? Why founders can go and set up? Fantastic. So if that is not something that will be acceptable to the investor, isn't it? Because they will lose money in that case, and this person will not be interested at all in the business of company A. So founders will, the investor will prohibit that. Okay, and that will be allowed because a large part of the business is actually sold to the investor. They have put money in it. So if you're going to be doing activities where that sale doesn't have any relevance at all, then that will not be permitted by the court. Like, it's obviously unreasonable. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. What remedies are available to investors when a non-compete is violated? There can be very specific provisions on the breach of agreements. Yeah, it's a material breach of agreement. So there can be whatever are the remedies of breach. Remedies of breach will be injunction, first of all, to stop that person from doing any further things about a competing business. They'll stop that. And then if you can, this business is losing customers because of that, the customers are taken away, and there is damages or loss that is happening to the investor, then you can claim that also. So it will be a breach of the agreement. And then what smart investors do is that if any kinds of things happen like that, not material breach, when they put that when you break the non-compete clause, I want the full value of my investment back at this rate. Okay, they can't be putting clauses like that to protect their investment, because obviously they'll not permit that.